So here might be the downside of the Heathkit Marauder HX-10, designed in 1957, 58, sold till I think early 60s. It's taken me pretty much all day to refactor this tuning assembly and to get it going. So I'll tell you my little adventure here. And there it is. So once again, I'll reiterate that this little collar was over here, and I'm not sure what purpose it had. So I moved the collar over to here, and the assembly manual says to put the collar there. I'm not sure why, but I put the collar over here, and what that does is it makes the whole shaft not move. So these would be called thrust bearings in a crankshaft in an engine, and that's kind of what they're doing now. So what you want is when you rotate this top gear here a little bit, you don't want it really. You see how now you hear it clicking? It's clicking only because there's a little bit of play between these two collars, but that's the only reason. And with no collar there, you can move this shaft like crazy in and out. So that right there is a liability of the way you're told to put this thing together. So that's been corrected. You also want to put some spring tension on this fiber gear here, but not too much. When you grasp it, you want it to return to where it was to get rid of backlash. And you can hear it returning, so it's okay. It's not too tight. This assembly here, though, is a nightmare because this thing will also spin up to eliminate backlash. But I'm beginning to believe that I don't really care if this thing is precise and has backlash. It will work good enough. And when you take this thing to full scale, it's really tight. Anyway, what's my point? When you put this together, this gear, you're told not to really mesh it hard with this worm gear. You just kind of put it on top and then move it away a tiny bit. And that's what I did. So that's the best I can make this thing work. And the other obnoxious thing is this flywheel. This flywheel basically scrapes on all sorts of stuff. It scrapes on the wire bundle below. It'll scrape on this limiter device here. It limits the travel of the shaft up to about probably 300, I don't know, 15 degrees or something. And it will scrape the chassis up here. It'll scrape this pulley. You have to get that tolerance in there just right for this thing to spin fine. And you can see that there's not much give or tolerance. So this thing was designed, I mean, back in 58 without computers and all that, fairly succinctly. And the precision in this thing's amazing in that if you put the VFO in here and just, you know, cinch it down, that VFO, okay, I guess they did control the distance in this piece of metal here with the VFO shaft for the variable capacitor. So that is good, but it's amazing how you slam this thing together as a kit and it works as far as these gears meshing and not really going bad. But it's hard to get this thing just right. My gosh. So anyway, what's the result? And I gotta quit saying, oh, it doesn't sound good. So the result is, and this thing's on the floor, so I'm on the floor. Ugh. But here's the result. So, and I'm looking for the pointer. There it is. So the pointer is kind of hard to see, but if I crank this thing up band now, there's some backlash in the pointer, as you can see. It's not exact, but I don't care too much about that. What I care is that there's no backlash in frequency when I turn this thing here, which I don't think there is. So as long as I get generally where I want to go, maybe that's good enough, and use the spot function. So this will go all the way to the end, and it's getting tight to turn because of the damn spring. And then there's a limiter right there that stops the travel. So, and when you go down this way, it'll be easier to turn because of the spring. And I could almost coast it down here now, which is nice. So yeah, it's not grinding for once. I must have got it set right, my gosh. So I think this thing's done for once. It's working right. There you go. So I think right about there, I want to get 5.6 on the VFO. So if I put it right there, let's see how accurate we are, right there. I want to get 5.6 on the VFO. And this thing conked out. Let's log back on here. And I don't see a VFO signal, do you, anywhere? 5.6 is right there. Is the transmitter turned on? Yeah. The wire's there. Let's spin this thing a bit. See if we can see the signal. Okay, there's a signal right there. And it's opposite of what it should be. So it looks like I've made it backwards. It should be 5.6, 5.5. So that's bad. How did I do that? And when you spin this thing up, it should go down in frequency, I think. And it's heading down. No, it's heading up. I think that's wrong. No, it must be right. It can't be wrong. So maybe that's correct. I thought it went the other way, but let's spin it up all the way. What do we got? 5.4. I think that should be 5.5, so maybe my gear's off a bit. Or 5.6. So I got some adjusting to do, but otherwise it looks like it's working. So that's a good thing. Let's see, the manual probably says it goes up to 5.6, I think, at the very top. Okay, so I'll take the gear off and I'll move it and I'll adjust it and we're all done. But the hard part for me was getting the actual mechanism to work right. So I had to resolder this pulley, put solder on there because that was loose from the spring, and took the VFO apart and moved that collar from here to here. That helped a lot. And of course I lubricated all the shafts with some grease. So this thing is finally, I think, ready. I just got to calibrate it and we're all done. Okay, thanks for watching. Have a great day.